Hey guys, today I wanted to do an abstract together. That's not something I usually do, but lately I've really gotten into doing abstract. And actually I did a bunch of them in this little sketchbook, which is pretty much, this is the last page, and then this front cover is still not done. So I'm gonna do that last, then I guess I'll be ready for a little sketchbook tour. Let's do like an abstract, super abstract landscape, and then also while I'm doing this, to make it a little bit more interesting, I will maybe kind of talk about some thoughts I've had while making all these abstracts and some lessons that I've learned from making them. So let's do this green. Now this is gouache, not acrylic gouache, just regular gouache. And I'm kind of being random with it a little bit, but I have kind of a layout and an idea in mind. So let's add a little bit of this kind of darker color over here and drop it in. So some thoughts I've had while doing these abstracts that, you know, might sound a little silly, but maybe you guys have had similar thoughts. I think I had this impression or this idea, even though I know intellectually I knew it wouldn't be true, but I still had this bias that abstract art was like easy or quick. And in doing these, I really learned that that's not the case. I guess you look at it and it just looks like a bunch of paint thrown together and you're just kind of like, oh, that doesn't take too long. But I've done abstract florals where I just plop some paint down and it looks like, you know, kind of abstract flowers using watercolors. And let me just tell you that those take me a lot faster because it's just one layer, just kind of paint all over the place. Whereas these abstracts, I really like them to be kind of like layered and have more dimension. Just by virtue of that, they've been taking me longer. I guess my mind's been definitely changed just by me trying it myself. And again, it's one of those things you can kind of know intellectually, but not something you would really, I guess, understand without like experiencing it firsthand. So I'm sorry for all my preconceived notions, and I take it all back. Let me see. So I wanted to add, like, I'm doing an abstract landscape. A lot of these abstracts were just really abstract, but this one's going to be an abstract landscape. So that's why I'm kind of using landscape sort of colors. The other thing I've really been enjoying about them is that when you're creating them, you're really in the moment. There's no really like destination to accomplish, right? Because it's not like you're trying to make it look like something, or you're kind of drawing and then filling it in after, where you have to kind of, you know, be mindful about it looking correct or whatever. So this is just a great way to be in the moment with your art and just really kind of focused on doing more intuitive sort of painting, where you're more focused on what feels right in that moment than whether that decision or that color or that brush stroke is going to advance it to the final result. I really like this Buff Titanium by Daniel Smith. And the funny thing is I've actually been mixing in acrylic gouache with regular gouache and kind of mixing them together, and it's been kind of cool. So, but I definitely don't want to use that paintbrush for that. This is a watercolor paintbrush, and for acrylic gouache I use basically my acrylic brushes. So let me find this. I like these raggedy like brushes because they're still kind of nice and firm, but they also kind of create unique textures sometimes because they're so fuzzy. Yeah, so I was talking about kind of being in the moment, and that lets you sort of be more present with your art and kind of relax more. Sorry about the noise outside. They're mowing the lawn. Somebody's mowing the lawn. Hopefully you guys can't even hear that, but in case you do, that's what it is. The brown for the background, kind of. So I have some notes about things I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to mention about abstract art and just the thoughts I've had over the past few weeks of doing it. Oh, my paintbrush is like shedding, but so another thought I had, and again, this mirrors life in general, is that you really have to be ruthless about letting go of the things that don't serve or don't work. Like, for example, there might have been a piece on a painting that I worked on for a while and put a lot of thought and detail into. Like, for example, I added dots or lines or other details, and then I kind of take a step back and I look at it overall and it just doesn't look good or it doesn't fit the whole painting. And then the way to salvage the painting is to paint over it, right? So you really have to be ruthless about evaluating and then letting go of the things that don't complement the whole or don't move the painting in the direction you want it to move in or whatever. Just like in life, you know, if something's no longer serving you, you have to be ruthless about letting it go and preserving, you know, the things that are important to you. It's kind of like that sunk cost fallacy where somebody, after they put a lot of time and effort into something, they're reluctant to let it go, even though they stand to lose more by holding on to it. It's, you know, a psychology thing where a person wants to hold on to it, even though they do know that letting go of it is going to serve them more. But after you invest so much into it, it can be very hard to let go of things, you know, and that can be like, you know, your job, it could be a relationship. It could be all sorts of things, and that really applies in abstract art as well. And that's why I was saying abstract art can really mirror life in that way. And I really like combining kind of either watercolors or regular gouache with this acrylic gouache or acrylics, because you get these like thicker paint strokes, so it just creates more texture. Yeah, so about the letting go, you know, just not being attached to things. Practicing non-attachment. Another thought in doing abstract art is that perfection can be boring. I have paintings where I made very nice straight lines. I ended up not liking how that came out nearly as much as the ones where I have like sort of more expressive, irregular, kind of wild, hand-drawn looking lines. Kind of just like in life, if something's too perfect, it sort of is boring, you know, there's no interest to it. And abstract art is kind of that same way, you know, you want to create interest. So, and that goes back to abstract art not being as easy as you might think. Like, sorry about my voice too, I have a cold. Somehow I managed to get a cold in the summer. Actually, I know how I got it probably. I took my son for his annual checkup to the pediatrician, and I'm guessing that's where I got it, the cold, because then the next day I started feeling it coming on. Yeah, that's awesome. What was I saying? When I paint, I kind of get into this flow thing and I lose track of what I'm saying. But I also don't like doing voiceovers because they don't feel natural. Talking in the moment feels a lot more natural than the voiceovers when I did the voiceover before. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying about abstract art. It's not as easy as it looks because you really still have to take into account the colors going together well, either being harmonious or not harmonious. You have to really think about composition being pleasing. You have to think about values, you know, the lights and darks. It's the values really, and then the colors kind of either complementing each other or bouncing off each other that create all the interest. It's kind of like in life too, where I like it when it's kind of dragged out like that, where it's in comparison of things that you really learn the value of something. Like, for example, if you have a really horrible job that you hate and a really crappy job, and then you go to a job that's better, you appreciate the good job more because you had the crappy job first. If you'd never had that crappy job, you wouldn't appreciate the better job as much as you do. Or if you really struggle to get something in life, and then you appreciate more when you actually have it than if it came easy to you. And I've noticed that with the abstract art too. Like some paintings, you know, you struggle with more, like there are lots more things you don't like, a lot more things you end up having to like cut out and like all this stuff. So, and those are a lot of times the paintings that I end up liking the most in the end after like all the work I put into it. That kind of, you know, is another example of like life and abstract art sort of having a lot of commonalities. Like there are a lot of things you can learn about living life by doing abstract art. I feel like an advertisement for trying abstract art. But really, that's another thing I learned, is sometimes the biggest rewards come from trying things that you're scared to try and going outside your comfort zone. Like, I did not want to try abstract art. I didn't really like the idea of it being, it's kind of like watercolors, it being so out of control. Like, you don't really have a destination in mind. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're doing. I saw a quote recently, like, you know, nobody knows what they're doing, but some people do it anyways. But I really was resisting it. But I had some wrapping paper I really liked. So I was like, oh, I'll do like a collage abstract art thing. And I pasted it in, but then I kept avoiding actually doing the abstract art on top of it. So I kept going with the sketchbook. And then I was like, well, I have this page I never did earlier in the book. I really should, you know, finish it before I keep moving on with the sketchbook. So I kind of forced myself to go and do that page, even though I was resisting it and afraid of doing it. That ended up being what like got me going on this whole abstract art journey, or down the abstract art rabbit hole. I don't know what you want to call it. And even if this is not something I'm going to stick with, or I'm not going to become an abstract artist or anything like that, I still think this is very useful because it teaches you things that you can incorporate into your regular art anyway. So it's still good to try. Then you can kind of see what you like about it. Like what I've been enjoying about it is having all these layers that create a sense of depth and mystery. You know, that whole still waters run deep sort of thing. That's what I've really liked about the abstract art. And that's something I can take with me and incorporate into my regular paintings too, like creating more layers, more depth, more of this blending sort of look. Who says I can't do that with my regular art, you know? The more things you try and kind of mesh together, the more it becomes uniquely yours. Maybe even putting things together that other people don't necessarily put together, you know, like realism with abstract, you know, and kind of figuring out a way to combine those. Then you're doing something new and different, and something that you know you enjoy because you're combining the things you enjoy the most and kind of putting them together. Kind of create this like little cloudy effect. Let me see if there was anything else I really wanted to say. Oh, the other thing is, you know, if you're not happy with it, like I was talking about editing things or whatever, yeah, just keep going until you're happy with it. Just keep taking things out, putting things in, editing. You know, doesn't have to be done until you're happy with it. You know, and that's kind of like life. If something's not working, that doesn't mean it's never going to work. You just keep going with it and keep trying. On the other hand, also just like in life, you have to know when to give up on a piece. Like if it's not working and you keep doing stuff to it and whatever, but then it's still not working, like you have to know when to walk away sometimes too. A little bit of this pretty pink. So this was Turner gouache, acrylic gouache, and this is Holbein acrylic gouache. This is a pretty pink. Yeah, so you have to know when to keep pushing, or maybe when to stop pushing. That probably covers most of the stuff I wanted to talk about. So I'm gonna let this dry and then finish it up into an actual little landscape. Okay, well, it's almost dry, so let's add some trees. I think I want like a fluffy tree here and a fluffy tree here, and then maybe a skinnier tree here. Yeah, this part where it's like a little bit thicker, that one is not the most dry yet, so I'm gonna start with these trees over here. And this is a graphic ink, which is basically just the Derwent sepia light fast pigment ink. So it's kind of like a micron, except it's from Derwent, and it's 0.3. And I'm gonna use this one because when you use pencils on top of like all this gouache and everything, it does work, but they They look darker over certain colors or certain types of paint, and then lighter over other types of paint. So you get like a lot of variation, which is not necessarily what I want if I'm making a tree. I kind of want the tree to look uniform. So let's do like a skinny sort of tall tree over here. Let me know what you guys thought of this video, where I just kind of make art and share some thoughts and insights that I've had. Let me know if these are some thoughts and insights you've had, if you've ever tried abstract art, or have you ever tried abstract art? If you have, what did you think of it? Is it something you would keep making or stick with? Or is it something that, you know, was like fun to try, but you were like, that's not really for me? Yeah, I don't know, like I said, if I'll stick with continuing to make abstract art, but I got sort of obsessed with it and just filled up this whole sketchbook basically with that. I don't really know what happened. I just sort of fell in love with it, I guess. But I do miss making some of my girls and stuff, so I'm gonna get back to some of that as well. And then let's do like a fluffier tree over here. And by fluffy, I just mean thicker, because none of them are gonna be fluffy because they're just branches and they don't have foliage. And actually, I love painting and drawing branches. Like a lot of my florals, I'll have like branches sticking out, or like paintings of girls, I'll have, you know, tree branches, either, you know, on their heads or in the backgrounds or whatever. I just love trees, but mainly I love to look up branches, like how they're so irregular and so many lines. Like it's just, I don't know, something about it. So I just combined, you know, different things I like to paint and different styles into one by adding the trees into the abstract. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, that you can just combining different things you really enjoy into the same thing then gives you something new and different. I also do fiction writing, and my thought about that is it's kind of similar in a way where if you have two different types of genres you really enjoy and you put them together, then you get something, you know, cool and new and different. For example, if you like romance but you love sci-fi, why not do a sci-fi romance, you know, something along those lines. That kind of thought. And then I think it's dry enough here, and I want this tree to go all the way up, I think. So and to make trees or branches, you just do sort of these squiggly kind of irregular lines, back to that whole perfect is boring. So let's do that. This one we're making it, remember, we're making it kind of wide and fluffier. Oh, my hand slipped, but that's okay, because let's remember that this is just a sketchbook. So any imperfections, any whatever, like you don't even have to keep going with an abstract painting that you don't like and keep fixing it until you like it. It's a sketchbook. You don't have to do that. The only reason you would have to do that in a sketchbook is because you think that by continuing until you do like it, you will learn something through that process of struggling with it. And a lot of times you do, because you learn what you don't like, what not to do, and then how to fix mistakes, what you do like, because in the end, when you do like it, now you've learned what you actually do like and how to make it something you like. So definitely through that process of struggling, you learn something. So that's why even in a sketchbook, it's worth finishing up a painting, figuring out how to make it better, like all those things. And you know what I want to do? I want to add a golden sun. Let's do like a little one over here. Just a small one. Oh, how big you want it to be, like that. Let's see, like that big. This is just a template I got from Michael's Artist Loft. It was a couple dollars. Well, a couple dollars on sale. And you don't need Poscas for this. You can just use regular gold paint or any paint really that you want to. Poscas just sometimes make it easier because they give you like a nice thin line. They're less effort than getting into a paint tube and paintbrush, but you really don't need them to do any of these sorts of techniques. But, you know, I like it when I can use what I have, and I have these, so I'm using them. So should we call it done? I think for a sketchbook page, it's good enough because, I mean, I like how it looks. I feel like I learned some things from doing it. It's one of those things where right now looking at it, I can't really say, oh, this or that should be edited, or this or that would be something I would do differently next time. Sometimes I need some time and space away from the painting. There were a lot of paintings in the sketchbook where I did an abstract art piece and I was done with it, and then a day or two later I would be thinking about that piece and I would realize there was a piece of it that was bothering me, and I would go back like 2 or 3 days later and edit it or fix it or whatever you want to call it, and that's okay. And with abstract art I find it's a lot more like that because there is no definitive finishing point. So you can just kind of keep going back in and editing things indefinitely. You know, maybe some paint splatters would be fun or whatever, but I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm just gonna date it. What's today? It's the 23rd. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think. And that pretty much finishes the entire sketchbook except for that front cover, which I'm gonna do an abstract piece and put in the dates I started and the date I finished. It took just about almost 2 months, but less than 2 months to finish this whole thing. And I wanted to finish the sketchbook on camera with you guys because I started it on camera with you. Let me see. I don't know if you guys remember these little time drawing exercises. That's how I started the sketchbook, and that was on 5/30. And today is Tuesday, the 23rd of July. So less than 2 months, and we started and finished together. Let me know what you guys think of this abstract art stuff or, you know, whatever. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, like all that good stuff. Of course, if you enjoyed. If you don't, then obviously don't do any of that. Thanks. Bye.